Welcome into the NFL opening line report. It is Monday morning. We are going live. Drew Martin, Teddy Covers, get you on the right side of some of these line moves. We got the Thursday nighter, we got a Sunday slate, and 2 Monday night football games to get after here, guys. Hey, bonus picks, the playoff matchups. We'll get opening line report on those at the end as well. But without further ado, at Teddy_Covers on Twitter, WagerTalk.com. Teddy, welcome in. Happy Monday morning to you, buddy.
Hello, at Drew Martin Bets at Twitter, as opposed to at Teddy_Covers. At Drew, of course, is the #1 NFL handicapper at WagerTalk.com this season. Congratulations on a monster campaign. I've been running real good the last couple of weeks as well. Stacking some winning weeks together, which is something that we've been looking to do. The last 3 weeks have all been excellent for the clients and I. So we'll see if we keep it rolling into week 14.
7-2, 78% the last 3 weeks in the NFL. In all sports, guys, that's Teddy Covers. He's hot right now, 33-13, 72%. So check him out, WagerTalk.com. We got the end of December special, $100 off. So check out Teddy Covers or Drew Martin on that for all the sports, all the picks for the month of December. Teddy, Thursday, December 7th, starting us off here, opening line report style. New England Patriots, Pittsburgh Steelers. We are seeing the Steelers -6-point home favorites. Am I reading this right? 30.5 as the total. What are we thinking? Pats at Steelers in the Steel City here Thursday night, Teddy.
You going to bet the over? I'm not betting the over.
Not, no. Mm-mm.
No one's betting the over, and that's why this is the lowest NFL total that I swear there was a 28 one time. It was a weather game. This is as low as NFL total as you normally see. With all of these, as we talk about in the opening line report, I'm going to give you 4 numbers for every game. I'm going to give you the look-ahead line. These are the bettable numbers on these games from last week, so we can see how much 1 week has adjusted the betting marketplace for these 2 teams. I'll give you my powering number. I'll give you the opening number, what we saw last night, and I use a market opener. And then we'll talk about where the lines are today. So here, the look-ahead line, Pittsburgh, -6. Total of 35, by the way, was a look ahead over at the Westgate Superbook here in Las Vegas. My powering number has the Steelers -7. I've got New England as the bottom 3 team in the NFL despite their defensive prowess. The markets opened 6-31 last night, and we're seeing 6 and as low as 30 right now. Look, I mean, the Patriots couldn't have played more of a dead nuts under game than the one they played yesterday. The offense had 0 trips to the red zone. The defense allowed 0 trips to the red zone. Bailey Zappi, 30 dropbacks, 109 net yards. So less than 4 yards per dropback. He was sacked 5 times in that ballgame. And it's the 3rd time in a row that New England has given up 10 points or less and lost. They lost 10-6, they lost 10-7, and they lost 6-0 in their last 3 games. The last team to do that, giving up 10 or fewer points in 3 straight games and losing all 3, yeah, that would be the 1938 Chicago Cardinals. That's the type of offensive futility that New England is talking, is it? And again, some of yesterday's struggles were the fact that the Chargers punter just pinned him deep over and over again. They started inside the 13 7 times, 4 times inside the 9, Hunter Henry, tight end. We're close and in games. Defense is hanging us in there. We've got to find a way to score some points. We haven't held up our share of the bargain, obviously. Center, David Andrews. Quote, it's a very simple game. You've got to score points. You got to score points to have a chance to win. There are Patriots that are hoping for Patriots fans that are hoping for Malik Cunningham to get a shot this week. And again, when you have a quarterback who has been on the practice squad for years, you're not necessarily expecting someone to come in and have an instant impact in terms of throwing the ball effectively downfield. New England's offense is broken, and there's no light on the horizon. Here's Pittsburgh. Their defense was terrible yesterday. In a sense, they allowed 3 touchdowns and 3 red zone tries. They had penalties. They didn't get a turnover in that game. Allowed a season-high 10 third-down conversions. TJ Watt, we got our butts kicked. Well, actually, say we got our asses kicked. They have butts in parentheses in the quote that I fold. We got our asses kicked. I don't know if it got away from us. We got humbled today. Pittsburgh off a loss, 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread this season. Pittsburgh dating back to last year off a loss, 7-0 straight up, 7-0 ATS. Tomlin's squads have been very good at bouncing back strong. I already have a free play posted for this game on my page at WagerTalk.com if you want to read more about the Steelers and the Patriots.
Both teams off of the short rest. Thursday nighter in the books. We got Sunday slate coming up. And Teddy, that was a wonderful breakdown to start it off. Who wouldn't have thought of the 38 Chicago Cardinals and that stout defense, Teddy? Man, way to bring it going way back in the database. Awesome, guys. We got 105, 106 to start us off here. Top of the Sunday card, December 10th it is. Jacksonville Jaguars, Cleveland Browns, 36 being the total here, Teddy. -3 flat, pretty much across the board here. That is the Jaguars as the road favorite. Do note the Jags play tonight, Monday Night Football, against the Cincinnati Bengals. But Teddy, I'll throw it over to you. Top of the card on Sunday, Jags at Browns.
Yeah, we've got a guy from Jacksonville who's coming into the comments and yelling at us for not saying Jaguars right. So I'm just going to call them Jags. I don't know how to say Jaguars, Jaguars, Jags. The Jags. Look headline here, 3-38. My powering number is 3 right now. The market's open 3-37.5. Jacksonville obviously going to play tonight on national TV. If they look good, they're likely to take money for this one against Cleveland. If they look bad, I still think the line, this line sitting at 3 right now, it's going to be hard. The Jacks are going to have to win like 47-0 or lose outright for that line to be something other than 3 tomorrow. This is not one of those scenarios. I'm like, you got to bet the Jags if you'll bet them twice. I don't necessarily see that. And if you want to bet against them, you got to bet against them twice. I would expect win, again, barring a Jags blowout, if the number comes anywhere near, if tonight's margin comes anywhere near the point spread, within a touchdown of the point spread either way, this line's open at 3. Cleveland had some defensive issues yesterday. Big defensive issues. They didn't sack Matthew Stafford. They got gashed on the ground. And, of course, Joe Flacco's coming in. I watched that game close. I want to see what Flacco looked like. And Flacco threw 10 ducks. I mean, maybe more. The Rams finally intercepted one in the fourth quarter, and it sent a 20-19 game into a 36-20 final with that interception. But Joe Flacco is still a stiff. All right, and again, this is a team that's had 4 starting quarterbacks this year, and they're 7-5. There's a possibility they could turn back to the rookie, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, this week. I don't know. They came into yesterday's game top 5 with a top-ranked defense and number 5 against the pass, and it wasn't pretty. And the injury report isn't pretty after the game. Amari Cooper suffered a concussion. He didn't come back. Denzel Ward is out. Marquise Goodwin is out. Kevin Stefanski talking about Flacco. I felt like we made a chance there. The game got away from us. I thought Flacco saw it well, made good decisions, got us into the correct plays and all those type of things. So operated well, did what we expected him to do. In my mind, that's probably a Joe Flacco gets another start type of quote. We don't know that yet for Cleveland.
107, 108 up next here. Teddy, LA Rams, Baltimore Ravens. We're seeing the Ravens -7 pretty much across the board. There is a prominent -7 in the hook in the global market. 43.5 being the total. Rams looking good. Now going cross country. What are we thinking Rams and Ravens here, Teddy?
I'm tempted to emergency betting alert this game. I'll just say this. I don't know if it's emergency, but if you like Baltimore, find a -7 now. All right. My powering number is only 6.5, that said. But the look headline, 7.5, 44.5. My powering number is 6.5. The market's open 7 and 44.5 last night. And as you mentioned, some of the leading indicator books are showing signs that we can expect some Ravens money. And the Ravens are a team the betting markets likes a lot. Their analytics, are really good. And of course, 9-3. They're off a 20-10 win against the Chargers. The game where Zay Flowers didn't go down to give them the point spread cover, and a bye week. Certainly Harbaugh off a bye has a pretty good track record. I would not be surprised at all to see Baltimore take money. That said, Rams have kind of been revitalized since their bye week. They won 3 straight for the first time since 2021. That was the year they won the Super Bowl. They're very live in the NFC for a wild card spot. They're running the football well. Kyron Williams, 21 for 88 yesterday and a tutty. Stafford, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Didn't get sacked against a good defense. Sean McVay. We came to life in the most important moments. We continue to play this way and continue to have conversations where you're relevant, maybe earn an opportunity to play afterwards. It is a Rams team that is surging. It is also a Rams team, West Coast team traveling east for an early start game against a motivated and talented opponent, which may not be their best matchup.
NFC North matchup up next, Eddie. 109, 110, 1 o'clock Eastern kick. Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears. 43 being the total. It's Lions -3 at most sports books. Although if you shop around, guys, you can find the Lions -3 flat with a little bit of juice on it, Teddy. We get the Lions at the Bears from Soldier Field.
Yeah, I was tempted to emergency betting alert Baltimore at -7. I'm going to emergency betting alert Chicago at +3.5 right now. So let's get it in. Doodly-oop. Look ahead line here. Lions -5.5, 45.5. My powering number is only 4 on the game. Opened 4 and 45 last night. Down to 3.5 this morning, and 3's popping up at all the leading indicator books, which tells us that Chicago right now is a team that the wise guys are certainly interested in. And Detroit, I mean, look, they scored 21 quick points in the first quarter, and the rest of the game, I'll just say they were lucky to hang on and win. The defense allowed 4 touchdowns and 4 red zone opportunities in a game where they were +2 in turnovers. And the offensive line for Detroit, all the success they have this year is predicated on one unit. That's the offensive line, giving time for Jared Goff and paving room for the running game. The offensive line is now officially beat up. Frank Ragnow, the starting center, the Pro Bowl caliber center, another injury on that OL. He left in the first half with a knee injury, and pretty much the Lions' offensive line got dominated the rest of that ball game. The Bears had Detroit where they wanted them. Was it 3 weeks ago? 2 or 3 weeks, I'm trying to remember. A couple of weeks ago. And then the Lions roared back in the fourth quarter of that ball game. But the Bears, 2 wins and a near win at Detroit their last 3 games, 3-0 ATS. They're off that 12-10 Monday Night Football win at Minnesota and a bye week. Justin Fields is healthy. Justin Fields is playing his career as a starter. He doesn't want to be Jameis Winston and stuck behind someone forever. And Fields the rest of this season, I can't think there's a more important time in his career than what we're going to see from Justin Fields over the last 6 games of this season or 5 games of this season in order to determine whether he is a future NFL starter or whether he's one of these guys who's going to be bouncing around from team to team as a backup. So I can understand the urgency for Chicago. I can understand the concerns for Detroit, given their offensive line woes, and given the fact that that pass defense really isn't all that good. The money's already come for Chicago. We may well see more. If you like the Bears, find a 3.5 now and get to the betting window.
Teddy, Carolina and New Orleans up next. 1 o'clock Eastern kick here. We get the Saints -5 in the hook. There is a -6 out there in the global market. 38 being the total. The 1-win Carolina Panthers, however, covering last week on the road here in the Big Easy. What are we thinking, Panthers and Saints?
Yeah, Carolina covering yesterday because they got the late backdoor touchdown and the 2-point conversion, which got them the money, and of course put the total right in the middle for the books. That was not a great result for the house with that made 2-point conversion for Carolina. Look ahead line here in New Orleans -6.5, 37. My powering number is 6. We're looking at 5.5/38 last night. And basically, that's the same number today. We are seeing some 37.5s out there right now. For Carolina, under the first game under interim coach Chris Tabor. And it was, there were some things that were positive. The running game worked. Chuba Hubbard, 25 for 104 and a couple of touchdowns yesterday. That being said, Bryce Young was under constant pressure. They're on pace to give up 66 sacks this season. That's a little bit shy of the team record, but certainly if you're on pace to give up 66 sacks for the season, your offensive line's not working, your quarterback's not getting the ball out quickly enough. Now, Tabor told the players to play loose, not reckless, and have fun. Quote, I love these guys. I feel for them. Losing stinks, and it's hard, and it's frustrating. But at the same time, you can handle things 2 ways, and that's what we talked about. You can handle it with character. You can handle it with compromise. So which is going to be? I like our guys. We'll just keep working. All right, that's fair enough. Carolina, of course, the first team to be officially out of the playoff race. Bryce Young, quote, each game is huge for us. We're of that mindset. I can't lie and say it's not frustrating, but ultimately what permeates a locker room is a desire to want to be better, desire to grow and play for each other. Those are positive quotes from a team that keeps on getting their butt kicked every week. I'm not getting a whole lot of positive quotes out of New Orleans yesterday. I don't know yet. But Derek Carr, yes, he had a concussion. He also hurt his back and he hurt his shoulder in yesterday's game. And from a power ranking standpoint, the difference between Carr and Winston right now, pretty close to zero. That being said, Winston, let's see, his touchdown drive should have been a pick six. He heaved it up on 3rd and 13. It bounced off the defender. The second defender would have caught it, and it bounced right to Olave for a 39 gain on a 30-yard gain on 3rd and 13, set him up. The second drive got stopped on downs. Winston threw behind Olave on 4th down, another bad throw. So, people like Jameis Winston. He's a fun character. As a starting quarterback, the guy makes a whole lot of mistakes. And New Orleans, certainly when we're talking about teams I'm comfortable laying points with at this stage of the campaign, Saints aren't one of them.
Great breakdown, Teddy. Heading from the Big Easy up to the ATL here. Next game up, 113-114, Tampa Bay Bucks and the Atlanta Falcons. We're seeing the Dirty Birds -2 in the hook at home, Teddy. 39 being the total. That's the first place Atlanta Falcons. One game behind is the Buccaneers, an important one in the division. Bucks and Falcons, Teddy.
Yeah. My NFL season win total report got 2 wins I desperately needed yesterday. I got Falcons over. I've got Packers over. The Packers win over the Chiefs. Didn't clinch it, but it puts us in real nice position down the stretch to cash the 5% big ticket play of Green Bay over 7.5. I've got Atlanta to win the division and Atlanta over 8.5 wins. Yesterday's victory over the Jets certainly wasn't pretty, but it keeps both of those bets very, very live. Look headline here was Falcons -2.5, total of 39. My powering number is 2 on the game. The market's basically 2.5 and 39 this morning. There are some 39.5s out there when it comes to this total. The Bucs started this season 3-1, and then they went 1-6, and they won yesterday. The running game worked yesterday. 28 carries, 128 yards against a solid defense. Mike Evans, 7 catches for 162 yards. The rest of the team, 7 catches for 40 yards. That's not exactly a passing game that's clicking on all cylinder. That being said, Mike Evans, 60 catches 10 years in a row, 1,000 yards 10 years in a row. Todd Bowles, he's getting the ball. Everyone's trying to stop him, and he makes plays over and over. It's credit to him, his work ethic, and the way he approaches the game. That said, even with Evans having a monster game, Tampa's life and death to win the game. They don't get the point spread cover. And boy, the injury report for the Bucs on the defensive side of football isn't pretty. Levante Davis hurt. Devin White hurt. The cornerback Jamal Dean hurt. The linebacker Servocia Dennis, who started in Levante Davis' absence, he hurt. KJ Britt, linebacker, left in the first quarter, did not return. So they have a real cluster injury problem at linebacker. And that's not the position you wanted on a cluster injury problem against Atlanta. The Falcons yesterday had 194 total yards of offense, 3.0 yards per play, 0 for 1 in the red zone. But they didn't commit any turnovers, and the defense forced 3. And that defense has been dynamite. The first back-to-back victories for the Falcons since opening the season, 2-0 against Carolina and Green Bay. They went 2-6 in between. Desmond Ridder, after yesterday's win, quote, and Ridder was dicey yesterday, but the team's believing in him and they're winning for him. Ridder, quote, we haven't stacked 3 wins in a row this year. We've stacked 2 twice now, so we got to be able to keep our heads, come back home, and be able to go out and get a 3rd win. I do think Atlanta's the better of these 2 teams. Laying less than a field goal at home is a reasonable choice for the Falcons, in this bettor's opinion, especially given the injury woes right now for Tampa on the defensive side of the football.
Like it, Teddy. Guys, we got 2 more 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kicks. Then we'll head to the afternoon slate. We do have Arizona, the Cardinals, and the Washington Commanders on bye. So a pretty full Sunday slate here in the NFL. And next game up, Teddy, we get the Indianapolis Colts and the Cincinnati Bengals. Do note, guys, the Bengals play Monday Night Football, but it's -2 in the hook for this upcoming week, Teddy. That is the Colts as the short road favorite. Anywhere from 40.5 to 39.5 being the total. We get the Colts at the Bengals from the Queen City, Teddy.
And this is too late for bye weeks. I mean, really? A week 14 bye for Arizona or Washington? Like those two teams, I feel like they were screwed before the season even started, given their bye weeks. You're not going to make improvements from a team that's, sitting at 2 or 3 wins in December when you finally get your bye. When it comes to the Colts and the Bengals, look ahead line here, Indy -2, total of 41. My powering number is only 1.5 for the game. The market's open 2.5. Last night is basically sitting there this morning, the same number, and the total sitting at 40. Indy, in many ways, dominated the game against Tennessee yesterday, and yet they weren't. They were life and death to win the contest. They couldn't stop Derrick Henry. Okay, that's certainly a major concern. They only went 1 in 5, 1 touchdown in 5 tries in the red zone. Indy, momentum. 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread their last 4. Coming off a big overtime win where they had to rally from behind an OT to do it. Gardner Minshew, again, making plays. Shane Steichen. It's awesome to see our guys fight every single week and just keep finding ways to win. Yeah, but who have you beat? They beat Tennessee, Tampa Bay, New England, and Carolina. That's no teams with winning records. That's no teams playing good football. And he sacked Will Levis 6 times yesterday. The pass rush was there. And they were able to win a game despite the fact that Taylor's hurt and now Zach Moss, only 51 yards on 19 carries in that contest. They were able to win a game without a big running game to do it. So these are positive signs for Indy. Certainly 4 straight wins and 4 straight covers is an undervalued commodity. It may well be undervalued again depending on how Cincinnati looks tonight. If the Bengals get blown out tonight, this line is going to be 3 tomorrow. If Cincy hangs around, it'll probably be in this 2.5 range. So if you want to make a bet against the Bengals, you may want to make 2 bets against the Bengals and parlay them together. If you like Jacksonville tonight, you can make an argument for Indy at -2.5 right now because that line could be worse. The Colts, I'm not going to say they have a betting bandwagon, but they're starting to develop a betting bandwagon. When you win and cover 4 in a row, you get more attention in this league than when you don't.
Sure. And yeah, it is 2 in the hook, guys. A couple global books going to 2 in the hook plus a little juice there on the Colts. Good stuff, Teddy. Last 1 o'clock kick up next. 117, 118. Houston Texans, New York Jets. 35.5 being the total. And we are seeing Texans -6. There are a couple 6 in the hooks popping up. That's the Texans as the road favorite, Teddy.
Let's go with another emergency betting alert right here, right now for the Texans and the Jets. If you like this total under, run, don't walk to the betting window. We were talking about 36s last night. We were talking about 40s. Look ahead line here. Texans 4.5 and 40 on the look ahead. My powering number was 6. Last night opened 6 and 36. We're seeing 35.5 still out there. Now, they're not going to be there. This game's going to take more under money. Every Jets game is taking under money. As well it should. If you like the under, bet that sooner rather than later. For Houston, impressive defensive showing yesterday. 3 sacks, 3 interceptions, including the game winner, the game saver against Russell Wilson in the end zone. They allowed 0 for 11 on 3rd downs. Stroud, no turnovers in that contest. Miko Ryans, we won the turnover battle, we won the game, and that's the difference. Big injury for Houston in that contest in terms of Tank Dell. That's a season ender with his leg. And again, Nico Collins stepped in for 191 receiving yards. They're 4-1 straight up the last 5 games. The only loss coming by a field goal to the Jaguars. Houston playing good football. And I like to see the young teams winning offense one week, defense another week. The rookie defensive end, Will Anderson, 3rd overall pick in the draft, was a monster yesterday. 2 sacks, 4 QB hits, deflected pass, and deflected a punt. Last year, the 2022 number 3 overall pick, the cornerback, Derek Stingley, 2 interceptions. And this is the guy that missed half the season because of injury. Now with interceptions in 3 straight games since returning, 4 total on the season. Lots to like about the Houston Texans right now. Anything to like about the Jets?
The defense?
Sure. I mean, they held Atlanta to 194 yards of offense, 3 yards per play, but they didn't force a turnover. The offense had 3. And the Jets aren't scoring points if they're not getting the ball at the opponent's 20-yard line. So they've been through Aaron Rodgers. He lasted 4 plays. They've already dumped Zach Wilson. Tim Boyle was obviously not the answer. So they went to Trevor Siemian yesterday. Siemian, if you watched him in the game, and again, I'm looking at it from, I watch a lot of football, but he looked like a guy just trying not to get hit. He was just chucking it up, Siemian did not, the team wasn't digging deep for Trevor Siemian. He wasn't grabbing guys in the sidelines and shaking them going, come on, let's go. They needed 1 score to win that game. There was no juice. Trevor Siemian came in. It was just as bad as anybody else. He's not the answer either. How many different teams have benched Trevor Siemian since he came in the NFL? The Broncos did it. The Saints did it. The Bears did it. I think the Jets have done it before. They have no answer. And your defense, again, 194 yards you held your opponent to. 3 yards per play. You can't win a game. That's not confidence-inducing. Siemian after the game. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating for everyone. You realize the margin for error of this league is so razor thin. You could have it and it could be so close, and then it could look totally the other way. Now, last week, Aaron Rodgers was coming back to practice for the Jets. And, if we can win a game, maybe Rodgers will come back. Well, he's also said it doesn't make a ton of sense to return from Achilles surgery to play in a game with no playoff implications. And the Jets, while they're still alive for the playoffs mathematically, they're 4-8. Yesterday's loss basically ended their season. I worry about the mentality of that team moving forward.
On to the afternoon kicks here, guys. We got 4:05 Eastern, 1:05 Pacific kick. First one up, Seattle Seahawks, San Francisco 49ers here, Teddy. Niners, man, they're laying 10 in the hook here as the home favorite, 46.5 being the total. Looking strong, but now laying double digits. What are we thinking? Seahawks and Niners, Teddy.
Look ahead line here. San Fran minus 11, 43.5. My powering number's at 12. The markets opened 12 and 46 last night. We've seen nothing but Seattle money. That said, I'm not convinced we see more. I don't think this line goes down to 10. I think 10.5 is likely where it's going to be, and that's where it is already at most books. Hence, no emergency betting alert for this one. Seattle, it's gut check time for Seattle. They have 3 straight losses, 1-4 in their last 5 games. They only win during that span by 3 points, non-covering against the Washington Commanders. They came into the game against Dallas, 20 consecutive possessions without an offensive touchdown, and they scored 5 touchdowns in that game and still found a way to lose. They allowed 33 first downs. They allowed 8 trips to the red zone. The defense forced 0 punts. These aren't good signs. Now, again, 1-4 last 5 games, and they're stepping up a class again this week. Pete Carroll, there's no concession of losing, but we'll definitely build on this. The story is not told what's going to happen. Seattle certainly a team headed in the wrong direction. Even with the cover last week, the markets aren't too excited about this team, meaning that they're double-digit dogs. The Niners, look, they're not just beating teams. They're dismantling good teams. They did it to Philadelphia yesterday, and the spot was so bad for Philly. That was a 5% big ticket winner for my clients. We like it when they come nice and easy like that. Philly was gassed, and San Fran took advantage. But it's a blowout win over Philly, a blowout win over Jacksonville, a blowout win over Dallas, a blowout win over Seattle. They're crushing, in theory, playoff contenders. The run defense has been dominant. Philly had 3 running backs combined for 20 rushing yards yesterday. The offense is extraordinarily balanced. 12 rushing first downs, 12 passing first downs. They went 8 for 11 on third and 1 for 1 on fourth. 4 for 4 in the red zone offense. 6 straight possessions where they scored a touchdown. The question is, they've already beat Seattle. That was a huge revenge win against Philly. And they talked about how they wanted to get something back after losing the NFC Championship game last year to the Eagles. I know it's a divisional opponent, but it could be an exhale spot for San Fran. And Seattle, certainly a team with a lot to prove and a team with extra rest after playing earlier in the week against Dallas. So perhaps these are the signs why we've seen some Seattle money off the open. Like I said, I'm not convinced we're going to see a whole lot more.
Teddy covers bringing the heat. Couple more Sunday games here, guys. Then we got the doubleheader on Monday. NFL opening line report each and every Monday right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. 10 a.m. Pacific time. Shout out to the chat box. Everybody joining live. Tyrone Boyd in the house. Jackson as well. Big Blue Jays. Martell Rob. We got Abby in the house, all the VIPs here. We get Paul coming to us from England. He's saying it's wet over there and rainy. Well, thanks for joining us either way, Paul. And guys, if you're liking the content, please smash the like button. If you're watching on replay, feel free to comment below. All the questions will hit at the end of the show. Love to hear where you're watching from, where you agree, where you disagree. All is welcome here. What you're betting as well. Teddy, next game up, 121, 122, 4:05 Eastern, 1:05 local time. Minnesota Vikings, Las Vegas Raiders. Vikings minus 3-point road favorites. 40 or 40.5 being the total. Not far from where you're talking right now. Vikings and Raiders, Teddy.
Paul Blakeney from Essex, England. I know he's been watching our show forever, dude. Thank you, Paul. We love having you every week. We appreciate you coming in at what is probably not as inconvenient time for you as it is us for here in the States. Again, every Monday, live 10 a.m. Eastern. 10 a.m. Pacific time, or 1 p.m. Eastern. When it comes to the Vikings and the Raiders, both teams coming off a bye, so we don't expect a whole lot of movement between the look ahead and the game line. Nonetheless, look at this: Minnesota look ahead. Minus 141. My powering number is 1, although I haven't really adjusted for Justin Jefferson's return. And that's what this is about. Now we're seeing the Vikings minus 3. Both teams on bye. Minus 1 to minus 3. Through, the 2.5s and 3 even monies straight to 3, which says the markets are very interested in the return of Justin Jefferson. For this one, again, it was 2.5 and 40.5 last night. So we've already seen the money come for Minnesota. We don't know who's going to be the quarterback this week. We know Jefferson is expected to be back. And look, the Vikings are off back-to-back losses and a bye. And the losses by 1 point to Denver, by 2 points to Chicago. So they were in both games, just couldn't get there. We could see Nick Mullins at QB this week, or Josh Dobbs. And I don't know that O'Connell's going to tell us before kickoff who to expect. That would probably be an advantage against a team like the Raiders, who are being coached by interim head coach Antonio Pierce, who is a great leader of men, but is not someone who's known for his X's and O's. And of course, the Raiders went 2-0 against the Jets and the Giants when Pierce first got the job, and then they went 0-2 against the Dolphins and the Chiefs. They were competitive in those losses, kind of, which is certainly a step in the right direction. I believe it's going to be the Aiden O'Connell show coming out of the bye at QB for the Raiders. And he's probably the better option. Jimmy G, there's nothing there. But from a point spread perspective standpoint, all the early money, all the sharp money has come from Minnesota so far. I'm not convinced we're going to see a whole lot more of this line. It's going to sit at 3 for at least the foreseeable future.
Denver Broncos, LA Chargers up next here. Teddy, we get the Chargers minus 2 in the hook. There are a couple minus 3s out there, so it's somewhat of a split line. More 2 in the 2.5s though, Teddy. 43 or 43.5 being the total. It's the Broncos at the Chargers, Southern California, next game up.
Look ahead line here. LA minus 3 and 45. My powering number minus 3. The market's open. It was split last night, 2.5 and 3. I actually wrote it 3/2.5, which meant there's a little bit more 3s than 2s, the 2.5s out there. And this morning, it's more 2.5s for sure than 3s. Total 44 last night. We're seeing 43s this morning, even a 42.5 out there. We could see some more under money. And again, the Chargers certainly played like an under team in New England. The weather was crappy. But 24 rushes for 29 yards is a positive sign, and the offense didn't get to the red zone, or the defense didn't allow anyone to get to the red zone. Brandon Staley after the game, there weren't going to be any style points today. I wasn't expecting it to be a high-scoring affair. Sometimes the games are a track meet, 41-38. Sometimes, hey, it was a game like today, 6-0. You have to do what it takes to win. That did the win over New England, snapped a 3-game skid for the Chargers. But again, they scored 6 in that game. They scored 10 points in the loss to Baltimore the previous week, 20 the week before that against the Packers. So it's not like this offense is clicking right now. 5 drops by 5 different receivers Sunday. They had a drop problem in the game against Green Bay as well. And all of a sudden, Kellen Moore, who got kind of run out of Dallas, the quotes I'm reading about Kellen Moore aren't positive ones when it comes to LA's play calling. Special teams was dynamite. Special teams won the game yesterday. J.K. Scott, the punter, had 8 punts, 1 touchback, and 7 drops inside the 13-yard line for New England. He kept the Patriots pinned deep over and over and over again. And, when you have a punter that can control field position, that's one of those hidden weapons in your favor. The Broncos had their 5-game winning streak snapped yesterday. Russell Wilson threw 3 picks, including a pretty bad pick to end the game. He was sacked 3 times. He went 0 for 11 on third downs. Sean Payton, I'll give it to our guys. We continue to battle. We just put ourselves in a little bit too big of a hole today. We weren't able to make enough plays. 2 mediocre teams, late season divisional game. Yeah, the 3 here feels about right. And given that LA doesn't have much of a home field advantage, the 2.5 here feels about right as well. I'm not sure whether this number is going to close 2.5 or 3. Obviously, if you're taking the points with Denver, find a 3. And if you're laying the points with the Chargers, lay 2.5. You can get both of those without extra juice right now on Monday morning.
Split line, guys, as we got next game up, an interesting one here, Teddy. Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs, the last afternoon kickoff. And we are seeing the Chiefs off of that Sunday night loss, -2.5-point home favorites pretty much across the board here, Teddy. 47.5 being the total. Bills need this one going on the road into Kansas City. What are we thinking, Bills and Chiefs?
Look ahead line here, Chiefs -3 and 48. My powering number, Chiefs -4.5. The markets opened a clear 3 last night, and they took out all the 3s. The 3s are gone. No emergency betting alert because there's no 3s left for you to get if you like Buffalo. And again, Buffalo was off an overtime loss to Philly. That was a 3rd loss in 4 games, and they had the bye week. It's a Bills team sitting at 6-6. Their record not indicative of where they are power rated. Buffalo still power rated as a top quartile team in this league. That said, look at their wins since week 4. That was remember that they had those 3 straight blowout wins, week 2, 3, 4, after the loss to the Jets in the first Monday Night Football game. Since week 4, Buffalo has beaten the Giants, the Bucks, and the Jets. That's it. That's not a who's who of good teams. That's not Kansas City. And I mean, the Chiefs blitzed Jordan Love again and again. They blitzed 18 times and 38 dropbacks. They couldn't put him on the ground. That's something of concern. They've fallen behind each of the last 2 games. There were a lot of touchdowns on each of the first 2 possessions. Second straight game they've done that. And in years where Patrick Mahomes had a bevy of weapons, they could fall behind and wake up. Harder to do now. Before Kansas City, the offense isn't quite as good. Andy Reid after the game. The Packers did a great job tonight. They got after us. It's a good football team. We've got to be able to start faster on both sides of the ball. We got to make sure we take care of that. And that's one of those deals, if you're thinking about a first half wager, KC might be worthy. First quarter, first half. Although first quarter I wouldn't like as much. They're likely to defer if they win the opening coin flip. So that could mean an extra possession for Buffalo. All that, and first quarter, that would matter a lot. But one would anticipate there might be some urgency for KC right out of the get-go when they face the Bills on Sunday. So far, all the money's come for Buffalo.
We got Sunday Night Football up next. This is for first place, Teddy, in the NFC East, a good one. Philadelphia Eagles off of that loss you talked about, in the Dallas Cowboys, -3.5. That is the Cowboys as the home favorite across the board right now. 52.5, as high as 53 being the total. Eagles, Cowboys, Sunday Night Football, Teddy.
Look at line here with Dallas -2, 48.5, and that was a good number, especially if you liked the San Fran against Philly yesterday. My powering number has the Cowboys 3. The markets opened 3 last night. We're seeing mostly 3.5s this morning. Look, they're going to keep betting against Philly. All right. And probably deservedly so. I mean, the Eagles were a team that had numerous fortuitous circumstances allow them to win lots of tight games this season. And of course, it's a team that turned halftime deficits into straight up wins in each of their previous 4 games prior to last night. They've done it 5 times this season where they've rallied back from halftime. They've been outscored by 12 points in the first half this season. It's the second half where Phillies made money for their backers. They were not able to do that yesterday against a superior team. And there were a lot of concerns for the Eagles, and there had to be for that game. It was a bad matchup for them because they weren't going to be able to run the football against San Fran's defense. And their own defense was on the field for 92 plays last week in the overtime win against Buffalo. That's why San Fran was such a strong play, because Philly's defense was gassed. It may still be gassed in this contest. And again, they've got some issues when it comes to defensive injuries. A couple of starters, Zach Cunningham and Kobe Dean, both sidelines. The red zone offense is struggling right now as well. Jalen Hurts. Typically, when you play to the standard, you win. I don't think we've played to the standard in yesterday's contest. But Dallas, I'm going to talk about a game they have circled. Philly got their trip to the Super Bowl last year. Philly's been the team getting the hype. Dallas has been the team getting smacked. Dallas has the home field winning streak that has been pretty dominant over the last 2 seasons. 33 first downs against Seattle, 8 trips to the red zone. And it was a tight contest, which Dallas has been blowing teams out or losing. The quotes afterwards, pretty positive. Mike McCarthy, I told the team after the game, we need games like this. To get where you want to go, you have to win these type of games. Dak Prescott, this was a big one to get. The first one with a winning record, meaning they haven't beaten teams with a winning record this year. But most importantly, in the fashion we did. Tough game, down at halftime, down in the fourth quarter. The guys in the team just making plays when they were needed. That being said, they gave up 7 third down conversions on Thanksgiving against Washington. They gave up 9 of 14 on third downs against Seattle. And the defense didn't force a punt in that game. So Seattle's top-rated defense, or Dallas's highly rated defense, declining in recent weeks. That could be a concern here against Philadelphia. And good news, if you like the over in this one. The over already taking pretty heavy money. This was as low as 48.5 on the look ahead. Now I'm seeing 53s out there. So money pouring in on the Cowboys-Eagles over, in part at least due to the Eagles' defensive deficiencies because of how much they've been on the field in recent weeks.
Teddy, we got 2 Monday nighters, and we'll hit them here. Tennessee, Miami, a game that I might be in attendance, Teddy. 47 being the total, minus 13. That is the Dolphins as the home favorite. It's the Titans at the Dolphins Monday night from Hard Rock, Teddy.
Look ahead line here, Miami minus 12.5, 44.5. My priority number on the game is only 11. The market's open 13 last night. They really haven't moved. Total sitting at 47. That really hasn't moved a whole lot either. There is one leading indicator book that's at a 46 right now. That's worth noting, although I'm not sure that's real. But I think it is because it just moved. When it comes to Miami, Miami's shown us that they can destroy weak opponents. Yards per play against Washington yesterday, 6.9 to 4.5. 45.0 turnovers. And a lot of emphasis for Miami on that game last week. Last year, they went 8-3 in December, just like this year. And then they had a 5-game losing streak in December, which basically ended their season as they would have hoped. This year, 8-3 going into December, and they win that game. It's the first 9-3 record since 2001. Tua Tagovailoa, quote, everyone is locked in. Everyone knows that we can do something special this year. No one on our team is trying to waste that opportunity. No turnovers from Tua in that ballgame. 2 key injuries for Miami on the defensive side. Jalen Phillips out for the season now. He got hurt last week. And the linebacker, Jerome Baker, injured his left knee yesterday. These aren't good signs necessarily moving forward. I mean, Tennessee, they had 2 blocks and missed an extra point yesterday. They lost their first home game this season. They haven't won consecutive games all year. They blew a double-digit lead. Injuries galore. The punter, Ryan Stonehouse, got hurt on the second punt block. Derrick Henry ruled out as he's in the concussion protocol. Their most important player, the defensive tackle, Jeffrey Simmons, who's their dynamite, he's hurt. There's, it's going to be tough for Tennessee against this defense, but that's a tough team. They are. Mike Vrabel, proud of the way we fought and lost. Will Levis is throwing the ball downfield, man. There are things to like about him, but he's also getting clobbered. He was sacked 6 times in yesterday's game, and Miami could give him trouble. That said, Levis's arm and Tennessee's passing game give them at least a hope of a backdoor cover. If this team falls down by 3 scores, they're still capable of coming back and making things relatively interesting. I don't know that anyone's taking Tennessee this week. I feel like Miami. Not going to hurt you to get to 13 right now. It's not going down in any real way.
Sure. We got, it is 13, a high number, but we have seen the Dolphins run it up. Good point there, Teddy. We got 131, 132. Green Bay Packers, New York Giants. We are seeing the Packers -6. Actually, a lot of shops moving to -6.5 here. That's the Packers as the road favorite here, Teddy. 37 being the total. Packers at Giants.
Yeah, I'm not convinced it gets to 7. So we're not going to emergency betting alert this. Look at line here is only 4.5 for Green Bay. Total of 37. My powering number 5.5 for the Packers. Markets open 6 and 38. Now we're seeing some 6.5s popping up. I don't know that it gets a whole lot further. And I mean, Green Bay. Again, the clients and I have season win bet, a 5% big ticket season win bet on the Packers over 7.5 wins. Last night's win, huge in that regard. If they go 2 and 3 down the stretch, we'll cash that winning bet. And I think they might do more than that. They don't have a game left of the final 5 weeks against a team with a winning record. Only Minnesota in week 17 are even at 500. Huge game against Kansas City. You do worry about a flat spot for Green Bay. They won 4-5 right now. They're creeping into playoff position. 16-0 Green Bay under Coach LaFleur in December.
Wow.
That's impressive. That's one of those stats. And again, it's kind of random. This game was played the last week in November. This game's played the first day of January. But Green Bay consistently in the LaFleur era has gotten better as the season has progressed. And this year, it is still the same. His quote, they're coming together. They're working. They're getting better. They're playing faster, playing more confident. Good signs. Giants, they got a winning streak. The last 4 games, they lose 30-6 to the Raiders. They lose 49-17 to Dallas, and everything's over for the Giants. And then they come back and they beat Washington, and they beat the Patriots, and they have a bye week. So there's some positive mo for the G-men. It's not like the ball's going anywhere. He'll be back next year. So the Giants aren't a quit team, and Green Bay is certainly going to be a popular public choice coming off that impressive win on Sunday Night Football against Kansas City last night. Packers drawing some betting market attention right now that could leave the G-men undervalued by the time kickoff rolls around, especially if this number, like I said, I don't think it gets to 7, but stranger things have happened. It's not like the public is running to the window to put their money on the Giants, despite that recent improvement.
Steven in the chat box saying any bowl game opening line report or emergency betting alerts, if you will. Well, Steven, you are in luck. Actually, the last couple of years for this NFL opening line report with the heavy kind of crossover, if you will, with the NFL fans and the college football playoff. We're going to hit Alabama, Michigan, and Texas and Washington. Of course, the semifinal games, the playoff games in the college football playoff for the national champion. First game up, Teddy, it's 5 o'clock in Pasadena in the Rose Bowl, January 1st, Alabama and Michigan. We are seeing the Wolverines -1.5, couple shops at -1. There is a -2 out there, 46 being the total. Your Michigan Wolverines up against the Alabama Crimson Tide, getting into the playoff. It was a little bit of social media angst, if you will, yesterday. A lot going on, guys, if you weren't paying attention. But it's Michigan at Alabama. What do you think about this line, Teddy? Where do you think it closes by kickoff?
So when it comes to the college bowl, they ask, are you doing a college bowl opening line report? The answer is no. And the reason is we don't know for the vast majority of these games. I used to do a ton of handicapping as soon as everything opened up and make a ton of bets in college bowls 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I'd have had bowl games posted already. I don't do that anymore because I'd rather lose a point of value or 2 points of value than get a team that isn't showing up and get a team that everyone's going to the transfer portal and get a team whose offense coordinator just left and defense coordinator left and the guys that are moving in have no job. Each game, each bowl game requires, in my mind, you throw out the entire regular season, throw out all of it. Each bowl game gets handicapped as its own little thing. Is this team interested? Is there any continuity with that team? Are the players who play for them in the regular season playing for them in the bowl game? And it's dramatically different from one bowl game to the next. As you go down, I started working them last night. I'm like, geez, I can't do anything with this game. I have no idea about here. I have no idea about that. When it comes to the college football playoffs, regardless of what you think about Florida State getting screwed, which they got screwed. Okay. SEC rules, SEC money rules, and that's just how it is. And Florida State, the wrong end of it this year. But this line's not moving a whole lot. Michigan's going to go off with a short fair, barring injury. Michigan's going to go off, and if you notice, the 2 point spreads for the two playoff games, they haven't moved. For this game's 1.5, 2. That's where it's going to be, barring any significant injury or transfer, which no one's transferring out when you're playing for a national title. Not these games. 1.5, 2. Total's going to sit in this 46 range, 45.5, 46, 46.5. It's not going anywhere. Same story with the late game, Texas, Washington. 4.5 at the open. It's 4.5 now. It's not going anywhere. If it goes anywhere, we'll see a little bit of Texas money there. But is it getting a 6? I don't think so. Total, we've seen a little bit of over money at some books, but again, open 62.5 here and 65.5 there. So the market settling at 64. These games, these two playoff games, I don't anticipate a lot of line moves yet. And we'll see how things break out over the next couple of weeks. What coaching staffs stay intact, what coaching staffs get ripped apart, what key guy gets hurt in practice, what key guy doesn't. But right now, there's no urgency, either side or total, to get involved in the two playoff games. I wouldn't emergency bet alert a thing for side or total for Michigan, Alabama, or Texas, Washington.
Okay, I like it, Teddy. Yeah, Alabama, Michigan, Texas, Washington, all in one, guys. A couple questions here from the chat box. Coin saying you went into detail there with the New York Jets. When does the New York Jets defense let go of the rope? ? Have to believe it's coming. Is that part of your handicap with the Jets going forward, Teddy?
Potentially. Look at the Patriots defense. Look at the Carolina defense. When things break bad in a game, all right, you might see those defenses lay down. But week in, week out, I haven't seen any of that from any of those teams. There's no short. Look at the Iowa Hawkeyes. When your team is a defensive identity, your defense shows up every week. These are all teams with defensive identities. So it could happen. And in any given game, this one could be the straw that broke the camel's back, and they have a bad game. But, the Jets had a Super Bowl caliber defense this year. They still do. They just don't have a Super Bowl caliber offense to go along with it.
Teddy, we got Xavier in the house saying, love this segment, Drew and Teddy. Are there any plays on season awards futures? Is that a market you're involved with, Teddy?
Pretty close to never.
Okay.
Anytime you're talking about one player getting it and all these other players listed not getting it, the house takeout on those wagers is substantial. And one guy's going to win and every other bet's going to lose. I much prefer two options. Yes or no. Yeah. This team's going to cover or that team's going to cover. Because even in a worst case scenario, you're 50-50 with your, literally, if you're flipping coins, you're 50-50 on a side or on a total or any of these yes-no propositions. That's not the case when they're listing 90 guys and you got to pick the one, or 20 guys or 5 guys and you have to pick the one. Doesn't matter. You're still never in a 50-50 spot. So when it comes to like an NFL MVP, if I'm going to take a shot, all right, if I'm going to take a shot for pizza money, I would look at the non-quarterbacks. I would look at Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill. I think they're both liver than the average non-quarterback. But it's been, 10 years since a non-QB won that award? So, you're taking a shot. But McCaffrey was available 20-1 last I looked. And, I was like, it piqued my interest. But I wasn't like, yeah, let me go shovel a bunch of money into that. It's a tough market to beat.
Absolutely, Teddy. I mean, to second that, guys, when it's this team wins or this team wins, the over hits, the under hits, you're risking 110 to win 100. A lot of times in these futures market, where Teddy was going with that, where, there could be 90 guys, 20 guys. And most of those futures markets, it's like minus 140. You're having to risk 140 if you break it down to win 100. So it just costs more. It's more expensive. That's why I'm with Teddy. I'm very rarely involved in that market. But Teddy, great stuff overall. NFL opening line report. Any final thoughts here before we shut this down?
Listen, guys, we appreciate all the likes. We appreciate all the views. We appreciate all the comments. Again, in the comments, Drew and I have been in there every week, answering you guys' questions, replying to your comments. Keep it up. We appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the games. Good luck on Monday Night Football tonight. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Feel free to comment below. Smash that like button for Teddy Covers.